welcome to this week's episode of Talking with Our Traders. I'm the host, Cindy Edwards, and with me today, as always, is Craig Mucklow, Vice President of Trading at Caesars Sportsbook.
Hello there.
Adam Pullen, Assistant Director of Trading here at Caesars.
Hello, everyone.
And Joey Fusil, Head of College Football here at Caesars Sportsbook.
Hello.
Hey guys, how's your week been?
Good.
Good?
Congratulations.
On what?
You were the biggest winner of the week.
I
Do you
was?
know what? Yeah, you were.
No, tell me.
So we dogged your Pats all year.
You guys did.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought this up.
And you took it like a champ until you sat and waited, and then you watched my Dolphins eliminated, Joey's Rams eliminated, and then the text message as soon as the Adams Eagles were eliminated, you sent the text that wiped out all the trash talk all year in one fell swoop.
And it
Congratulations.
really helped me that it all happened on the same weekend.
Yeah.
So
Well done.
I appreciate that happening. But let's get into some divisional weekend questions. There's been a lot of movement in the coaching world. Wondering how these changes affect team odds versus obviously like a player.
I mean, obviously, it depends who the hire is. Obviously, if Bill Belichick, wherever he goes, he's going to influence the odds on those. Mike Vrabel, maybe second. It just depends. Depends who the team is. Obviously, if Bill Belichick, goes to a team that might be a contender already, the influence on the team who's like the Panthers, who still have a long way to go, he'll have an influence, but the odds may not move as much. Those teams like the Falcons, who Belichick is being, is interviewed twice with as of now, that might have the most impact because they're a team that's on the cusp, maybe not a Super Bowl contender, but close to it. Everybody thought they'd be a playoff team this year. So, yeah, it just depends who the hire is and obviously what team is he going to and how much work does he have to do.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think in the NFL it doesn't impact as much as like we see in college.
Mm-hmm.
In college football we have a coaching change. That opens up the portal for an extra 30 days for players to go in and out. It's not as easy in the NFL. You can't just, pick and choose. I mean, you can, but you have a certain salary cap. It's so competitive. Where college, you can really go anywhere. Like to Adam said, it all depends on what it is. I don't think Frank Reich last year really moved it, and we saw how that ended up. I think it all depends, but it's not nearly as much as like players. Players moving is much bigger.
The guys are right. The winning teams don't fire coaches anyway, so you're not making a change on a good team. But also, if you've got an opening, you're hiring a coach that's probably been fired somewhere else, so there's not really marquee changes that are going to happen anyway. So if you're about to hire Belichick, it's because he got fired from the Patriots and they did not perform. So it all depends. Like if it's a marquee coach, maybe they've got more knowledge with draft stock and how they draft and how they change the team and a little bit of motivation. But that's not going to swing the needle for me on a futures price unless they have that franchise QB and they make some drastic changes. So no.
All right, makes sense. You guys both mentioned Belichick. Obviously, big deal. Where is he coaching next season?
So far, the rumors have been all Falcons. He's got a second interview this week, and I think it's a good spot to land it. Like I said, Falcons were favored to go to playoffs. They had big expectations going in. They have the groundwork set. They have good defense. They got some solid players on offense. I think you need another quarterback. I don't think Desmond Ridder or Heineke was the guy this year. So they got the 8th pick in the draft. So I would not be surprised Belichick going to the Falcons, and I would not be also surprised if we see McDaniels come back as OC. He had some success in New England, but maybe that was just Tom Brady. I guess we'll find out. But Belichick has been known to kind of bring guys back into the organization, so I would not be surprised to see that if he's hired at the Falcons or wherever he goes.
Yeah, it's looking like Falcons, but wherever he goes, he's going to have control because he's not in it at this age to just coach. I think he wants full control, and he's got to have an owner that's going to give it to him.
Right.
Whichever team that gets him 15 wins as quick as possible. This is close to my heart.
Yes.
So obviously it's the Falcons. They won 7 games this year, so that could get him 2 seasons, job done, then he retires. I'm not ruling out my long shot Tennessee anytime soon. It's a shame because you're going to go to a team that's not there. They're not a contender. Is he ready for a rebuild? I don't think so. It feels like it devalues the win record if he does that.
Yeah. Do you think he brought up the Super Bowl in his Falcons interview?
I'd probably avoid that.
Yeah.
It's probably going to do.
No, what he would have said was, now if I was on your sideline now
This was what happened.
with those hundreds of millions of dollars salary, we wouldn't have given that lead away.
Mm-hmm.
Fair. If you were the owner of an NFL team with an open head coaching position, which coach would you want?
Harbaugh still has a job, so he's out of the question theoretically because he's not available. So I'm kind of bending the rules a bit. Theoretically, Eric Bieniemy at Washington doesn't have a boss right now because Rivera's gone. So that makes him available as far as I'm concerned. So I think he should have had a head coaching job years and years ago. Tremendous talent. He's got like this hard line with the players. It worked at Kansas City, so Bieniemy, that's who I would go after.
Interesting.
Well, I guess I broke the rules because I went with Harbaugh.
But he has a job.
He has a job, but we've already seen JJ say he's going to the draft, and so that really tells you he's out probably as a Michigan coach. Because JJ, I mean, to me, isn't going to be a super top quarterback prospect for this draft, so the only reason he's leaving, I think, is because the coach is leaving. So I'm going with Harbaugh. Coach has already had success, just won a national championship, already had success in the NFL, boasting a 49, 22-1 record. I'm going to go with the hot hand straight out. The national championship, give me Jim Harbaugh as the best.
I'll save Vrabel.
Okay.
Just because I think he got the raw end of the deal. I mean, he got fired, obviously they missed the playoffs a couple of years in a row, but he didn't get along with the new GM. And it's the owner thought that the GM was more important than Mike Vrabel. But, he's a good coach. He's done a lot with less. He's never had any real big offensive talents. He's had some good players, obviously. Derrick Henry's been in the fold. But, he's a great defensive coach. I'd like to see what he can do if some team gives him some offensive weapons. So, but again, a lot of it's the coordinators. We've seen how much they matter. And, is he going to be a head coach that he's going to be a part coordinator, or is he going to hire two coordinators and just be an overseer? So there are a lot of factors, but having those coordinators is just as important as having a head coach. Just look what happened in Philadelphia this year.
Right. All right, 3 different answers. I like it. Which young QB do you trust more in this round of the playoffs, C.J. Stroud or Jordan Love?
I think whichever quarterback gets the better of the weather. It's supposed to rain in San Francisco, and it's supposed to be 17 miles an hour wind in Baltimore. They're both big dogs on the game, so theoretically you assume they're going to be chasing a deficit regardless, so they'll both be airing the ball out. They're both going up against world-class defenses, both on the road. Statistically, they're pretty similar. The only difference, Jordan Love has more touchdown passes, but he also is more careless with the ball. I'll take Love only on the basis that Baltimore's defense is far superior to San Francisco's, against quarterbacks, I should say. And the weather will be the lesser of the two evils in San Francisco.
Yeah, 2 different young quarterbacks. Jordan Love, this isn't his first year. He's been in the league for a while. While he hasn't been starting, he's still been gaining, kind of learning along the way. Stroud, on the other side, this is his first year. And to get where they are today is incredible. In my opinion, CJ is the better quarterback of the two, but again, to Craig's point, this weekend is going to be different because if you do have weather and defense, I'd much rather be playing the Niners. It's 60-degree, maybe rainy, as opposed to how cold it's going to be in Baltimore against that Baltimore defense. So, yeah, I'm also just giving Jordan Love the advantage, at least in this weekend. Overall, I like Stroud better. But
Yeah, I agree with Joey. Stroud overall better, but Love this weekend just because, the Ravens have a better pass defense. So I'll go with Love slightly.
All right. Can you rank the remaining AFC quarterbacks?
Well, hang on. So a few weeks ago, we asked the question, and then we tweeted out my top 5.
Yes.
The top 3 are still in. The other 2 were injured. So we'll stick with that. Well, that was Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, Allen in that order. So that leaves C.J. Stroud at 4th. But if I'm C.J. Stroud and I'm getting taught with those names, I'm over the moon.
definitely. I got Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Stroud. I know Lamar is, he's like, I think it's also the Ravens system and just how efficient John Harbaugh is, as opposed to if I put Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen in that Ravens system. Josh Allen especially, I think he would perform better than Lamar, but obviously that's not an option. So yeah, those are mine. And then Stroud to the final lineup.
I had Joey's exact 4. Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Stroud. Mahomes' playoff success, Super Bowl rings got to count for something.
All right, I like it. What about NFC quarterbacks? Maybe a little bit more difficult?
Trying to think who they are.
A little bit of like a second tier, even with Stroud in there.
Mid-tier.
Yeah, mid.
Mid.
Much midder.
Yeah.
I've got Purdy, Goff, Mayfield, Love. Those are my 4.
I got Purdy, Goff, Love, and Mayfield. It's like between those, it's a coin flip.
It's ugly.
The disgust in Greg's
That
face even
face.
saying those names.
I'll take Goff, Purdy, Love, Mayfield.
Baker.
Poor Baker, yeah. All right. Well, will we see an upset this weekend? Who do you think there's a possibility?
Yeah. So teams off a bye since 2002 are 35, 41, and 2 against the spread. One seeds have only covered at 35% of the time. The Ravens have lost 5 of their last 6 playoff games, and 2 as a home favourite. Road teams in the divisional round who missed the previous year's playoffs are 27 and 13 against the spread. So that's Houston and Green Bay. Both San Francisco and Baltimore have had 2 weeks off. For me, the temptation is there's an upset in the first half, take the points because of the ring rust. Packers have already proved they can win on the road on a marquee game. Somebody called the upset straight up last week, so we're calling it again this week. But I'm going to be a complete counter opposite when I do the game preview. You're going to be like, oh, you're contradicting yourself. Packers for me.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, 74% chance of at least one upset this
Yes.
weekend. Obviously, much better Sunday than Saturday. A 36% chance on Saturday, 59% chance on Sunday that we'll see an upset. Math aside, I can see any one of these teams playing spoiler. I mean, we saw how dominant the Texans and the Packers were last week. If they can play up to that, then, this is the NFL. Anybody could win. So, I think, Packers, to me, are going to be the biggest chance for an upset, or in my mind, as opposed to where I can see the slate today.
Yeah, I'll go with the Packers. I mean, what they did last week was impressive, so we all agree. But I think that's the more likely of the upsets among all the big underdogs. I mean, Kansas City, Buffalo, it's not going to be an upset.
Right.
Whoever wins that game. But from a bookmaking perspective, obviously, like I said, we need one of the straight up win by an underdog, and that will give us a nice weekend. So that's what every bookmaker is hoping for. So we'll see if we see it.
All right. Which team has a brighter future, the Eagles or the Cowboys?
Can I start?
The experts
I
should start.
I definitely want Adam to start.
Well, as long as Jerry Jones is in charge, the answer is the Eagles. I mean, he's the reason. This is all on him. I mean, the decision to keep McCarthy, I think, was surprising, just the way they got beat. I mean, if they would have lost like a 1-point game, a 3-point game, it was close. Yeah, but it's just the way they lost. I mean, being down 27-0, it's. I had a friend who was at the game. He left early. Everybody had those high expectations. This is finally the year, and it didn't transpire. But look, Jerry Jones. He played football in college, I think, at Arkansas, but he sort of anointed himself the general manager, and all the blame lies with him. As long as he's still there, which I hope, as an Eagles fan, I hope he stays for as long as he wants, because I think the Eagles have a better future. The Eagles obviously a disappointing second half of the season. They were in the Super Bowl last year. We'll see if Sirianni stays. From what I see, leaning to, but he's got to come up with some big coordinator hires to replace Desai and Johnson, because it did not work out. Losing Steichen and Gannon, obviously hurt, and it showed. So, but yeah, as long as Jerry's still there, he built a nice stadium. Don't get me wrong, he's worth a lot of money, but as long as he's in charge, the Eagles have the better future.
Packers still haven't lost though, have they?
No.
Still haven't. That was a good stat last week.
Yeah, that was.
I'll go. I like the Cowboys. I'm against him here. I think, obviously, there's a caveat. If Dan Quinn is hired somewhere else, that hurts the Cowboys. But I think from just a perspective of how good teams play is having that good quarterback, good wide receiver duo, and I think Dak and CD is better than Hurts and Brown for Philly. Also, Sirianni's on the hot seat this week. If he gets fired, that's going to throw things into entirely,
That's a good point. Do you think that's an overreaction?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's 1 year. Obviously, losing the coordinators hurt the Eagles big time. But if he's out though, then that's going to definitely make a dent in the Eagles' future. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, he pushed the panic button. Getting rid of Desai, putting Matt Patricia in, that didn't work out. So he tried. He tried something. It didn't work. But a lot of people think you lost to the Niners. It was an embarrassing loss, but it was one game. But yeah, the coordinators are so important. So. We'll see what happens with Sirianni. I know there's big meetings this weekend to see him impress Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman to see if he's going to stay.
What's the tie break?
I looked at it in 2 ways.
Okay.
So the first way, I looked at one team has a logo that can fly brighter to the bright blue sky.
Right.
The other team has a logo that's a rating, not a logo. the 1-star rating. Okay. Then I thought, that's how much I care about those two teams. But then I asked Eric F., who was our head of US sports, and I said to him, who's going to be the shorter price in next year's futures? And he said Dallas will be second or third favourite at the NFC based on what Detroit do this week. So Dallas will be a 10-12 to 1 shot for the Super Bowl next year. There's your answer.
All right.
Sorry, Adam.
Adam, you mentioned
But it is a
We'll
1-star
prove you
rating.
wrong. Yeah, definitely.
Adam, you mentioned it briefly, but will the Cowboys regret keeping Mike McCarthy?
I don't know if it's Mike McCarthy per se. I just think, like I said, I think Jerry Jones is the one that's got to go. You have to turn the operations over. He has so much control over everything. I'm surprised he didn't make the move, but I don't know if it's McCarthy. I just think it just comes from the very top down. I think that's where the change needs to be. I don't think McCarthy's a horrible coach, or he's the reason why that they haven't had playoff success. They haven't had playoff success in 20-something years. So it's not how much of it's McCarthy. So there's been one constant there since that time. That's been Jerry Jones.
I think it's a financial move because he's got 1 year left on his contract. So you're not paying out a ton of money just to pay off a coach that you're getting rid of. It's win or go home literally next season for McCarthy and the Cowboys. I'd love to see a stat of how teams do well where the owner is the GM, what their record is, because I'm guessing it's not going to be great. But for all of Adam's dogging on Double J, he who owns the gold makes the rules.
Yes, that's true.
That's a good quote.
All right, let's get into some game previews. In the first game of the divisional round weekend, we have the Texans versus the Ravens. The Texans obviously had a dominant win last weekend, and the Ravens had a nice little break. So who gets the win here?
Open 9.5 Baltimore, slightly moved back down to 9 and went to 9.5. The total opened at 46, dropped to 43.5 due to the weather. I had the Ravens as 10.5, 44.5, so after the weather move, I'm still there on the number. 17-mile-an-hour winds, very, very cold at 27 degrees. Baltimore won week 1, 25-9. The Ravens are looking for a fast start. They're the league best 14-3 against the spread first half this year. They're 7-0 straight up against the Texans. They are the number 1 team on Mucklow's board. They have been most of the year. The Texans will be popular with our customers this week purely because of what they saw last week, and it'll be fresh in the memory. But going on the road in weather, rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, the Ravens have the experience, but as I said earlier, the Ravens have lost 5 of the last 6 playoff games, and 2 of them are as home favourites. Ravens get it done. Do they cover? I don't think so because of the weather.
Yeah, you're talking about that. They met early in the year. Obviously, took their strides both. Both teams have improved since the beginning of the year. Ironically, that line was 9.5 as well to start the year. Same now. Stroud played lights out, but again, I think weather's going to be a much bigger factor in this one. But on the other hand, Lamar is 1-3 in the playoffs. Now, are we going to see vintage Lamar? Maybe, but probably not. I think the Ravens do get it done, and I think they cover.
Yeah, I'm more aligned with Greg. I think the Texans could keep it close. Yes, first-time starter on the road in the playoffs, first-time coach on the road. They played in week 1. Stroud didn't have a bad line that game, no picks. But I mean, the guy has what he's done is phenomenal. You don't see that from a first-year quarterback that much. He's got the poise, every situation that's tough, he's in. He seems to be unfazed. Obviously, this is going to be his biggest challenge for the whole team. Texans been a great story. I think 200-1 odds, opening Super Bowl odds, and to get to this point, I think any fan in Houston would be happy if this was the result. They lose to the Ravens, but they're here, and I think they might hang. Again, I could see anything. I could see a Ravens blowout, or I could see them hanging, but I think the Ravens definitely get the win. But I'm hoping to see a close game.
All right. Next up, we have Packers 49ers. Some familiarity between these two head coaches. You guys all mentioned that this is your pick for an upset. Do you think they will pull off another upset?
I think that out of obviously between these two games, I think the Packers have a much better chance of beating the 49ers than Texans to beat the Ravens. Only because weather, it's also a different factor. But Jordan Love, he's shocked the world, with his dominance of Cowboys. It almost looked at how the 49ers took care of the Cowboys. These two teams have yet to play this year, but these coaches, like I said, have some history. LaFleur was a Shanahan guy, worked for him both at Washington and was the quarterback's coach in that infamous 28-3. You might be familiar with that Super Bowl.
Is it?
So they've also played 2 playoff games. Shanahan and LaFleur have played 5 times. Shanahan's won 3 out of 5. 2 of them were playoff wins, where the Niners got it done. I do believe the Niners are the better team, but the Packers are the hotter team. So I know the Bucs and Lions will both be rooting for the Packers in this one because no one really wants to play the Niners team. I think if Jordan Love can show an ounce of what he showed last game, they can definitely upset the 49ers in this one.
And no, as far as the spread, we opened 9 and 49. It's now 9.5 and 50.5. Obviously, the total increase is a lot to do with what the Packers did last week. Very impressive. Love was great. He made those tough throws. It seemed everything he did was right on. They ran the ball well. But how much stock do you put in that win? We saw what the Cowboys did. We saw what the Eagles did. The NFC East didn't have a very good weekend. But no, if they can anyway replicate close to what they did against Dallas, it's going to be a challenge, obviously, against a way better Niner defense. I think if it gets to 10, I think that's a take. I mean, they have that certain something. The Niners are complete on both sides of the ball. It's going to be a tough proposition for them. But I think the Packers are live. We talked about it earlier. We all agreed that if any of the big dogs that's going to win, the Packers are most likely.
Yeah, I made this 10 or 49.5, and you can see why the money came for the over last week against the Cowboys, and you can see why the money's come again for the over this week. It's 10 and 4 to the over between these two teams in recent games, 6 and 2 to the over in San Francisco. The 49ers are 12 and 5 this year, first half over as well. So these teams put points on. Interesting, the Vikings were the last team to pull off a touchdown dog straight up win in the playoffs in the wild card. They went to San Francisco the next week, got absolutely blown out by 17. The Packers find themselves in this situation again. The worrying stat for me, and it is the contradiction, 49ers won 16 of the last 22 games by 12 or more points. It'll be tough for the Packers, but if the rain comes, it might be a bit of an equaliser. But again, it comes back to what the Packers did on Thanksgiving, what they did last week. If they can win the coin toss, get the ball and score first, the pressure's on the other team, and that's exactly what they'll try and do. Wouldn't surprise me if the 49ers win the coin toss, they take the ball this week.
Really?
To take it out of Love's hand. Yeah, it's mind games.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, moving on to the most expensive divisional round ticket ever. We have the Bucs versus the Lions. Did you hear this? The ticket prices are insane.
Would you pay $2,000 to see the Bucs?
Absolutely not. Maybe if Eminem was there.
He will be there.
He'll be there.
The Lions got their first playoff win in 32 years. That's longer than I've been alive.
We can tell.
Will they continue this historic run, or will the Bucs break Detroit's heart?
I'll go. Game opened 6 and 48.5. It's now 6.5. 49 total went up a little bit earlier today. A little bit of Lions and over money, obviously. Rematch from early in the season, 20-6. Detroit won at Tampa. The offense was stymied by Detroit that day. Mayfield was 19 of 37, 206 yards, 1 interception. Obviously, he's got to be better, but he's gotten better as the season's gone on. He's got that confidence. Look, what Tampa did last week, personally, I don't put much stock in. They did what they should have done. The Eagles were reeling. Their defense was horrible. Pains me to say it, but that's the truth. It wasn't surprising to me. It wasn't surprising they won by that score. Nothing about that. They did what they should have done. The Lions, against Joey's Rams, they eked out a win. A lot of people say, well, they didn't do much after halftime, but they held on. They made the defensive plays when they had to, so credit to them. But I just think there's something about this Detroit team. It starts from the top down. Campbell is I was talking to somebody. It seems like he's the superstar of the team is Campbell, and everybody else sort of feeds off him. They don't have a lot of superstars. They have a lot of great players, don't get me wrong, but it's just the sum of the collective and just the whole energy they have. There's something about it. So I think Detroit gets it done. I think, like I said, that Tampa win, I'm not putting too much stock in. They should have done what they did. It's a big number, but I think Detroit gets it done. I think they continue their run. And look, a lot of people were looking at the Lions after last year. They finished up so well, just missed the playoffs. Everybody thought this was going to happen. It was very likely, and it's happening. And it wouldn't surprise me to see Detroit make a run into the Super Bowl. There's just something about this team. There's some magical thing. I don't know what it is, but they have it.
Yeah.
And that atmosphere, like you mentioned, those tickets are expensive. It's for a reason. The atmosphere is going to be just bonkers at Ford Field. So
yeah.
So they're going to lose.
Campbell
They're going to lose
never
themselves.
seen- that was
Sorry.
a good one. That was a good one. All right, guys.
Baker's 3-0 against the spread in the playoffs with 7 touchdowns and 1 interception. He's 8-1 against the Bucs are 8-1 against the spread on the road this year. However, they're 4-11 against the Lions against the spread in their last 15. Both teams are solid against the spread, 12-6 both teams. The Lions played a hugely emotional game last week with the rematch against Stafford. They could have been eliminated, probably should have been eliminated. The Bucs walked through the Eagles tackling, no problem. So this will be a tougher test. Having home field always helps in the playoffs. As Adam said, the Lions won it earlier in the season 20-6 as a 3-point road favourite. Now it's a 9-point swing. Well, 6 of it you can see for home field. Given the last 20 games versus the NFC teams, the Lions have averaged 5.5 points per win. So 6.5 might be a touch of value for me. Maybe the emotion coming off of last week. Baker's got nothing to lose. He's playing for a job next year, so I think they could be dangerous. Do they pull off the shock? Don't think so, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, the Bucs receivers had some drop balls last week too, so I don't know if that will come into play.
You can't afford to make.
Out there.
As Miami can tell, they make crucial mistakes on key downs, and that's what you can't have happen in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah, just a couple underdogs in this one. We've been rooting through all. These aren't the big dogs usually. So, at Ford Field, no weather for Craig, unfortunately.
Did you hear the report?
Oh my God!
Yeah, the report said they're going to manage the weather
bad.
next week.
Ford Field, yeah. But these are 2 unwanted first overall picks. Jared Goff traded by Rams. Baker Mayfield is his 3rd or 4th team.
Yeah.
They played in October and kind of, the Bucs were still kind of walked out of their 3-2. The Lions walked out there 4-1. Lions beat my Rams fair and square, so I'll be rooting for the Lions from here on out. Both offenses have shown flashes and regressions all season long, so anything can happen in this game, and that's really why I like this game. I do think the Lions still get it done. I do like Campbell. I've been a fan of him all year long, but I'm not counting Baker out because I know he's got the weapons. He can get it done. Anything can happen here. I'm looking most forward to this game.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the
this
one
is
you're
my
looking
game.
most
This is
forward
the
to.
one I'm
Wow.
looking forward to. Yeah, I don't want, see the Bills and the Chiefs again. Come on, we've seen this.
Yeah,
All right.
it's an easy.
Very true. Okay, finally we have our very familiar matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. This playoff matchup is like becoming the norm.
It is.
Yeah. Who wants to start us off?
I'll start off. Yeah, it's the January game. Everyone speculates at the beginning of the season. When's this game? Is this game going to be the AFC Championship? Well, it can't. Now it's going to be a divisional game. We had a rule change come from this same
Yes,
playoff
we
game
did.
in divisional 2 years ago
Yep.
because the Chiefs scored immediately, and they're like, well, maybe we'll give both teams a chance. So a lot of history with this game. They played earlier this year. Line was Chiefs -1.5, and the Bills covered and won 20-17, going well under the posted 49.5. It's going to be cold again, as we saw that last weekend with the weather in Buffalo. They had to move it to Monday. It was a Craig game. It's not swimsuit weather. I think this game comes down to which offense wants it more. I think kind of both of these teams. The Chiefs started with a really solid defense, but really offensive struggles. The Bills had defensive struggles with injuries going in the early season, and also Josh Allen throwing picks. I think both these teams are going to be motivated. Again, we've seen this matchup however many times. I'm excited to see who actually gets to participate in the championship game, but I can't pick either one of these. I can't make a decision who's going to want it more.
Yeah, I agree. It's a close game. Obviously, they played earlier, and if one Kadarius Toney foot was back a little further, we'd be having a different discussion right now. But game open 2.5 and 46, 2.5 minus 15. It's 2.5 minus 20, total down to 45.5. Yeah, it's going to be cold, but weather shouldn't play too much of a factor. Might be a little wind. Yeah, winds, not too bad. But yeah, it's like Joey said, we've seen this matchup over and over. It seems like it's just a staple of the playoffs, and here we are again. This time it's in Buffalo, though. Mahomes' first road playoff game, which is amazing. A testament to him and what the Chiefs have done. I mean, that's pretty outstanding. But yeah, I think it's a toss-up. I mean, obviously we've talked about both teams. The Bills, we've been more, congratulatory over the last part of the season because they played well, where the Chiefs have just sort of sputtered. We talked about it all year, how the offense hasn't looked the same over and over. Both teams struggled a little bit last week. I mean, the Dolphins, I don't put too much stock in that. The Dolphins, how good really were they? No offense, Craig. The Bills got out to that big lead. Steelers made it close. So both, neither team looked fantastic, but to me, I think it's Buffalo's turn. I just think that, there's just too many doubts about the Chiefs' offense, and Buffalo has that certain something. They're playing better down the stretch. I think it's the Bills who win and get to the AFC Championship game. But again, no result would surprise me. I mean, you can't discount Mahomes, you can't discount Andy Reid. They'll be looking to prove people wrong. All the bad talk that we and other people have talked about them all year, they're looking to silence us. So wouldn't put it past them to go into Orchard Park and win.
I couldn't be further off the number than possible on this one. I made this Bills -4 and 42.5, so I'm a field goal under the total, regardless of weather. And I'm crossing that magic number 3 on the spread as well, obviously because I'm high on the Bills. The Bills are coming into what us English call the definition of fit. They are smoking hot. 6 straight wins, 4 of them versus double-digit win teams. The Chiefs are 4-2 the last 6. 1 win versus Miami and a loss to the Bills, which they could have, should have won. Those are only 2 tough games. Easily, by far, the best game of the weekend. Joey, sorry, this is the best game. Joey alluded to that, 42-36 overtime game. I know exactly what restaurant, what table, and who I was sat with that night, because I was actually with the NFL having dinner. Tremendous game. These two put nothing up but historical matchup, so I just hope it's some sort of repeat and no referee incident or anything like that. Just straight up great game. Mahomes has been a dog 10 times in his career. He's 7-3 straight up, 8-1-1 against the spread, and he's 8-0-1 as a road dog. Allen 0-2 in the playoffs versus Mahomes, but this is Mahomes' first road playoff game, which is crazy.
Wow.
The problem for the Bills is they took some injuries last week, which didn't help. Their defense will certainly tackle better than Miami's. Miami were like playing Olay to a bull sometimes. And they won't make the mistakes Miami made, so it'll be a tougher route for Kansas. Tough one to call. I'm on the fence with this one. I'll obviously lean to the Bills because I've picked them for the Super Bowl, but I just want to sit back and hope for another classic.
All right, well, we will see, and that concludes our game previews, so let's get into some game predictions. Who would like to start? Craig?
I went 1-1 with an asterisk last week because I got hosed on the move. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's weather in Baltimore, and I made the number 44.5 before the weather. So the line's 43.5. Let's go Ravens under. All 4 of Lamar Jackson's playoff games have gone under as well. So there we go. Ravens under.
I wouldn't be surprised with the under in that game, but I'm going, that's something that's probably anti-correlated to that. I like the Ravens to cover this game. I think this team is going to be solid. They're going to be prepared. I think Lamar has something to prove with that 1-3 playoff record. I think he wants to get out. I don't think it's going to be a pretty win, but I think that their defense is going to do enough to make Stroud look like a rookie should look like. So give me the Ravens -9.5.
You can look pretty when you wear your ring.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going with the Lions. I'm laying 6.5. I don't think you're getting a ton of value. It's more of just, like I said, I think that the Lions have that certain je ne sais quoi.
Right.
That certain something that we don't understand. So I'm going with that. Lions -6.5. But I think, look, at this stage of the game, I think all the spreads, they're pretty tight. They're pretty good. So it's tough to find value. Other than that, I'd say maybe the Packers +10 if it gets there. But for one pick, Lions -6.5.
Yep.
Let me get the chalk out. What do you got?
I'm riding the Packers. Picked them last week. I'm going to do it this week. You guys talked me into it to upset the 49ers. Even though that was my Super Bowl team, so now that I'm thinking about it, not a great move by me, but yeah.
Hedging.
You got to. All right, well, that concludes our episode of Talking with the Traders. Thank you all for joining. If you don't already, please follow us at Caesar Sports on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Guys, anything to say?
Enjoy the games.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. Go Lions.
All right. Bye.
Bye.